Hi guys, welcome back. So if you saw the title of this video, you're probably thinking, where is this girl going with this? I just want to talk about why I think it's okay to steal sometimes. I'll explain. So the type of stealing that I'm basically talking about is something that I would call intellectual thieving. When you are a student at school, especially if it's exam season and you have exams coming up, I think that there is one form of stealing that it will actually probably be good for you and isn't actually damaging for anyone else. So I'm not talking about coursework or assignments or anything that requires originality. I'm talking about exam content. Okay, who relates to this? Have you ever studied, say, history, where you are sat in a lesson and your teacher makes other people read out their essays? When I was doing history at school, I was very good at it. I was on the gifted and talented register for history. It was one subject where I was just consistently good at every single year of my life from childhood. Despite that, when I was sat in lessons, when the teachers made other people read out their essays, I would listen and think, their essay sounds so amazing, why can't I write like that, or why can't I speak like that, or when am I going to learn to have vocabulary like that? Can't even speak. And I'm not trying to attack any groups of people, but there were certain people in, and I'm sure if you go to a state school or comprehensive school in the UK, you probably relate to this. There are just always groups of people in your class who are propelled by parents, middle class parents with really high-flying jobs who have this, broad vocabulary whilst they're still in nappies, and can just speak really well. I remember when I was in year 9, I think, so I was about 13, it was the start of the school year. There was a boy in my school, in my year group, who I used to speak to sometimes. He was a white boy, and the only thing really I knew about him was that he had a huge house, because people had gone to his house parties and had told me. And one day we were just having a random conversation, and he told me that his dad was a professor at, I think, University College London, at UCL, and I had never in my life heard of UCL, and I remember thinking, UCL, is that a city, is it a town? I just remember kind of nodding and thinking, okay, I didn't know what it was. And that's what I mean, there's people like that you're competing against in exams. And what I'm trying to say is, when you're in a lesson, when people are reading out their essays or reading out their work, reading out answers, make sure you listen intently. And if there's any words or vocabulary or just phrases or sentences that you don't really typically use or haven't heard of before or don't know the meaning of, make sure you write it down and go out of your way to find out exactly what it means and try to incorporate it into your own work. So when you compile a bunch of, say, 10 new words in one lesson that you've not really used before or haven't heard of before, make sure you find out exactly what they mean and the context in which this person has used it in your class, and then go out of your way to try prepare an essay or an answer, depending on which type of subject you're doing, that incorporates those exact phrases or words, etc., into your work. And watch how your vocabulary and your writing style just changes. Now, this is why I'm a really big fan, a big promoter of peer-to-peer learning, because of the potential it has for you to learn. Most people have friends at school. I assume you probably have friends that you study with, even if you don't specifically revise with them, that you have lessons with. Swap work with them. Give them your work so that they can learn from you, and in turn take theirs. Photocopy each other's essays. Sorry guys. I'm very lucky. When I was at school, I had such a kind and caring friendship group, particularly in sixth form, even more so at university, even though I wasn't really doing essay-based subjects at uni, but I found it so useful having people that wouldn't mind if I read their essays, and I would always give them mine. Make sure you're never taking from people what you wouldn't be willing to give back. That's parasitism. And that there is nothing I dislike more than parasitism. Don't leech off people. Even though stealing, I know you can say stealing is leeching, but what I mean is, if people in your lesson use big words that you don't normally use, the word doesn't belong to them, you know, it belongs to Oxford and Cambridge Dictionary. They belong to God. How about that? Yeah, so, you know, that's not really stealing because they're not at any loss. They already knew that word, you didn't, so, you know, they've just done you a favour, and I don't care whether or not they know it, they don't need to know it. When it comes to specifically your friends, make sure you try to swap essays or learn from them, read their work. This is like one of the most important things in such a situation, is to push an ego to the side. Don't sit there thinking, oh, but like, you know, I don't want this person to think that they write better than me. At the end of the day, you want to get the best possible grade in exams. When you're in an exam, yeah, an examiner doesn't know what you learned from someone else and what you already knew. Yeah, they're not going to read your work and think, rah, this sounds like candidate number 95378. They're not going to think that. They're just going to read your work, and if they like the sound of it, they're going to like the sound of it and probably give you a good mark. Examiners are just random, everyday people. I could be an examiner. Like, I guess I would go through, you know, a recruitment process and I'd be trained, etc. But I could be an examiner, and you know, what does that tell you? Examiners are human beings. They are influenced by so many things, even though they have a guideline that they have to mark you within. But we all know how things change in essay-based subjects. I know a person who who did an exam in a subject they were very good at and got a mark lower than you'd expect, I would have expected that person to have. This person approached me for advice, and I remember thinking, this is an essay-based exam. Let me take a gamble and tell them to see if they can get it remarked. And this person went and did that, and it came back, I think 18 marks higher, 18 marks higher, 18 marks higher than it had been initially. And I just remember thinking, wow. That just goes to show, like, I don't care how much people say, and no, examiners use, you know, a very rigorous framework, mark scheme, and, you know, only give you marks for what you deserve and rarely make mistakes. I don't believe that. Like, I don't care how many people an exam paper goes through, yeah. It's in your best interest to maximise your chance of doing well, and one way to do that is intellectual thieving. You're in that exam on your own. No one knows what the hell you've written, yeah? So obviously give yourself the best chance you can in it. Basically, yeah, I don't condone thieving unless it's the intellectual kind. If you're stealing intellectual things... Wait, is there like law, like intellectual property law? Anyway, like, please don't get the wrong idea, okay? This isn't clickbait, and it isn't encouraging stealing either. Like, what I'm just saying is, you know, take phrases and words and things from people. Listen intently, because listening is one of the best revision tools that you can use. Did you know that? You don't need originality in an exam. Examiners, they don't know where you got these ideas. You know, they're not going to say, hang on, that's what her teacher told her on Tuesday the 17th of March. That's not what they're going to say. They're going to mark you based on whether or not they like the sound of your work. Because, you know, there's in essay-based subjects, yeah, there's having the right answer, and then there's having the right answer but having it written very beautifully, like in a very nice way. You know, the quality of your written communication is something that you can craft and work on after you have the right answer, and it's something that you can always mould, and one of the best ways to mould it is peer-to-peer learning. So the reason why it's not really stealing is I would like for you to offer other people what you have as well. If you know something that can help people around you, share it. Ask one bit of practical advice I could give is maybe ask your department at school for sample essays they might have for a particular topic, or write loads of rewrite an essay again and again in a different style, or like an answer, say if it's biology or chemistry. I mean, those are quite different because their answers don't really have as much flexibility as essay-based subjects. But, you know, in essay-based subjects, write something again and again and again and again and again, and compare the different styles, and maybe even take it to your teacher or take it to your peers and show people and say, which style do you like the most? You know, which one sounds better, the most appealing to you? So ask your department for sample answers they might have. I think it's called specimen paper or specimen answer, I can't really remember, but when I was doing my A-levels there was something where you could see like a model answer for certain subjects. I never really used to use it, but I'm sure my teacher showed me one for one of my subjects, so maybe Google it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. So yeah, take as much as you can. It's not really stealing, but it kind of is. Make sure you listen very carefully. Listening will never have you at a loss. Write things down that you've not heard before, that are new to you. Maybe your teacher said it, maybe someone in your class said it, maybe your friend said it, maybe your family said it, maybe you saw it on the internet. Make sure you write it down, and every new thing that you've written down, don't just leave it there. Try and incorporate it into your work. See you in my next video. Bye.